discrimination. Kia ora.
The Honourable Chester Borrows.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, it is a privilege to be able to stand in the House and speak in this debate, and I want to congratulate members from right across the House for the way in which they have conducted this debate from the moment the bill was introduced or even discussed right through the Select Committee process, and unfortunately I wasn't part of that Select Committee process, but all reports are that those people on that committee conducted themselves very well. I think it's a real shame that people on different sides of this debate outside the chamber don't think those of us who think differently from others within the House hate enough. The fact is that all of us can respect the views of those who are in here and making speeches tonight, and I find myself in the situation where I agree with so many speakers who are speaking both in the same way for the way I intend to vote and those speaking against. I do agree, for instance, with the last speaker, Jan Logie, that all relationships should be treated in exactly the same way, whether they be a heterosexual marriage or whether they be a civil union between heterosexual couples or gay couples, or long-term de facto relationships between heterosexual couples or gay couples. I believe that the fundamental issue here is the equality of long-term relationships and the status they have before the law. And I believe that that is the issue that we should have the courage to debate tonight. And I don't believe that by changing the definition of marriage to one to include gay couples is the way to do it. I believe that that is a different way of trying to achieve the main objective, which is to achieve that legal status. I find it abhorrent the way that various groups have acted throughout the course of this debate. As a Christian, a conservative Christian, I find it abhorrent the way that Christians have entered into this debate, the threatening nature with which they have emailed colleagues, and I know colleagues who have set out thinking they will vote against this bill and change their mind because of the way they have been treated by Christians supposedly worshipping in their daily lives and witness a loving God. And if they profess to worship that God, it's a different God that I worship and that I believe in, because they have shown nothing of that love, that all-encompassing love, in the way that they have conducted themselves within this debate. And it is unfortunate that in every debate where fundamentalist Christians get involved in lobbying one side or another, they always bring out the worst and seek to have those people who don't hold to our faith to shove us into a pigeonhole that would brand us all in the same way. And I think that is despicable for people of faith to behave. My fundamental concern with this bill is, as I had stated earlier, it seeks to redefine marriage as something other than a heterosexual institution, which it has always been, albeit the odd exception when some Greek wanted to marry his manservant, and no doubt somewhere back in history someone wanted to marry some other creature from other species. It doesn't mean, for instance, that detracts from that fundamental definition of what marriage is. Marriage does not belong to Christianity. It doesn't belong to any religion or ethnicity. It has been there since time immemorial, and it has always been relative to a heterosexual couple. I don't believe that changing that definition addresses the fundamental issues which are about the equality of long-term relationships before the law. And if, for instance, it is directed at the prejudice within the Adoption Act, which is brought about by that definition of marriage, then I need to state right here that I would vote for that change in the adoption law, because I believe the overriding principle is what is in the best interest of children. And so I think this House needs to have the courage to define clearly what the issue is and to have that debate, no matter how unpopular that may be, or no matter how much trouble we may well get into. I also want to just acknowledge too a number of comments that members around the House have made, and that is how far we have come. And I know within my own experience how far I have come in relation to these issues. And and that is about that circle of friends. I acknowledge again Jan Logie, who talked about the liberal bubble that she lives in. The wider our experience within, or the wider the circle of friends, then no doubt that brings in contact, as it has to me, a number of gay friends and gay relatives that I have, love and treasure the friendship of, and consider it a privilege to be part of their lives. And I have also experienced the prejudice that those people have experienced within the communities, and one particular cousin of mine, an exclusive brethren person who, having come out, has had to leave the faith, and his family, and his acknowledgement of his status has meant that he has lost absolutely everything. And thankfully, he has been welcomed by a loving and caring gay community and an understanding heterosexual community, and I believe that is a good thing. I want to just finish off with another point, and that is this, that I think that, or the comment that Tauhinari made, the Honourable Tauhinari made, in respect of decisions that we make not affecting us. The fact is that we are here making decisions that will affect the lives of others, and maybe they will affect us as well. I don't accept any suggestion, for instance, that a gay couple being allowed to be married is going to affect my 34-year marriage to Ella, in the same way as my good friend Chris Ockenvole doesn't see that it would affect his. That isn't the point. The point is that what we have is a group of people who will be affected by their fundamental beliefs in the fact that they see marriage as a heterosexual institution. By changing that, they will be affected in that way, and by enhancing the view of those who see it differently, you automatically suppress those views. And I would have thought that people who had lived under the wrongly oppressive regime for so long would have understood that, and we could have found another way about it. I want to finish now, because I recognise that time is short, by once again restating that I think that this Parliament has conducted itself with exceptional integrity, and the population of New Zealand, no matter how they would vote on this issue, should recognise that. The fact that we can debate strongly different points of view here, but acknowledge that they are different points of view. They are not lesser, they are not greater, they are just different. And the more that the public of New Zealand, looking at this chamber, recognise that, the better we will all be. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The debate has now concluded. The debate has now concluded. I wish to acquaint members with the process from here on, because we are to some extent breaking new ground. We are now going to enter into the voting, but before I do that, I want to just read Standing Order 294.